Hey, Katrina here at Scrappy Horses. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am working on a card with this delightful little image from Connie Fong for the Cut It Up Challenge, where the theme is a Christmas project. And I decided to go with a Christmas card. So let's get started in Design Space. All right, I wanted to start in Design Space because I wanted to share how I got this little piece right here to fit around my snowman. Now, this little piece comes from Little Scrap of Heaven, and it comes with these flower pieces. But I wanted a snowflake because that was more appropriate for the frame to go around my little snowman. I also wanted the frame to sort of look like sort of a twine wreath. So I did that by embossing it, but we're going to do that later in the video. So let's get started with this, and I'll show you how I put this card together. So I started with a rectangle, and for some reason I started with a large rectangle. I don't know why, but in the demo, I'm going to start with just a card front size here of about 4 by 5 1/4. So what I've done is I've unlocked this lock, and I'm going to type in my height 5.25. I'm doing that on my keyboard, and I'm going to just do it that way. All right. So now I know I would like this to be this cute snowy pattern, and this happens to be from DeCosse's Dynamite Doodles. It's called a Touch of Frost Mid-Tone Colors collection, and it's the Wild Blue Yonder. So I'm going to come over here and say I would like Print Then Cut. Then click the square, click Color, Pattern, and then find this pattern that I have here. Let's see. There it is. I click and we have it. Now you can see the little line right here through it. So I'm going to say Edit Pattern, and I'm going to make it a little bit larger. I'm going to use my down arrow here. I'm clicking this with my mouse, left clicking it. I can make this a little bit smaller now if I want to. Move it down a little bit more so you can see you can play with this and put it where you like it. I think that looks great. So I'm going to go ahead and click the X, and there it is. Okay. Now, I've already brought in my little snowman here from Connie Fong. So I'm going to move him to the front by left clicking and bring to front. And I'm just going to bring him into the card. All right, so there it is. And what I did there is I just went ahead and I flattened him on there. So he is going to print on that piece, and then I will Copic color him. Now, here's where we're going to bring this little wreath from Little Scrap of Heaven. All right, so let's move this out of the way. This comes in as a set, so I can come up here and say ungroup, and now I can pull this away, and we don't need those flowers or dots, so I'm going to get rid of those. However, I could have used these dots around the wreath if I had wanted to. I just chose to use gems instead, or pearls, so we'll delete that. I'm going to left click my mouse, bring to front, and stick him here over the edge. Now this seems to be a bit longer this way, so I'm going to go ahead and rotate by coming outside and just pulling this around like so. All right. Now I don't mind if this sticks off the edge some, because it's going to stick off onto the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card base that I have behind this. Okay, so I'm not too worried about that. All right, so now I can change the dimensions of this wreath. All right, so that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to unlock it, I'm just going to grab this corner, stretch up, a little further up and in maybe. Okay. And let's see, I'm going to rotate around. Let's see what I actually have there. I have something like, I think what I did here is I actually stretched it this way is what I did. You can play with it and stretch it however you like though. So we'll just go ahead and sort of bring it in this way. All right. And then we're going to bring this up a little bit so it fits on the card. All right. We're going to go ahead now and we're going to bring in our snowflake. All right. So when we bring in the snowflake, we're going to try to get it so it's not sitting right on top of the bird or on top of the hat or something like that. Okay. So we're going to bring in this snowflake. All right. And it already comes with this shadow back. Okay. So we're just going to move the whole thing. All right. We're going to downsize it. Whoops, let's bring it to the front. Downsize it a little bit more. Twist it around like so. And there we go. Now we've got this in here. Now what we want to do is go ahead and pull this back out. We're going to pull this away. We're going to pull this. Whoops. We're going to go ahead and ungroup that and pull the top layer of the snowflake away. And now we're going to go ahead and go over and select these two pieces. And we're going to say combine. We're going to weld them. We just want to weld them. And there they are. Okay. Now I went ahead and I cut this, I believe I cut this in brown if I remember right. And then I cut this little snowflake in white and then did blue embossing over that. Okay. So you can cut this little wreath in whatever size you like. It doesn't matter. You can cut it in white and then color it yourself. You can do whatever you like. All right. So then we bring this guy to the front. And there we are. We're back to where we were. So that is how I made this. Now, I also put a piece of backing scrap white paper behind here. And all I did was color it dark brown. You're going to see that on the video. And then I have a cream colored card base that measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. As always, if you have any questions about this, what I did here in Cricut, just leave them below. I'm more than happy to help, more than happy to answer. And we'll get on with this project. I'm going to go color up this snowman, and I will see you over at the craft table. So I have everything printed and cut, and I have Copic colored that delightful snowman. Now, this snowman is from Connie Fong, and the Digi is called Snowman and Birdie Friends. And I will link that below so you can find it. The paper is again from Dicas's Dynamite Doodles, a Touch of Frost Mid-Tone Colors collection. This particular paper is Wild Blue Yonder. I have my other pieces here and several embossing folders. So let's take a look at what I've put together here. I mentioned before in the design space portion that I was really looking for a folder to use on this wreath. And so here are some of the ones I pulled, and we're going to go through those in a minute. I thought I might use this thread. I ended up not using it, but I thought I might. Here's the little snowflake and the little wreath. Here's my snowman on that fun blue snowy paper, the white piece of cardstock I told you about, and my card back 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'll be using a Faber-Castell Pitt pen. However, you could use any brown marker you have, or even brown ink like I'm going to show you from Close to My Heart. I have some Versamark ink and some embossing powder. Here's the Close to My Heart ink, and it's a chocolate brown color. I wanted to give this wreath some texture, so I went through several different embossing folders, just trying them out. I didn't like this one. I didn't feel like it gave it enough. I felt like that might be a good choice because it would give it several different directions. I really liked the wood tones, but I didn't like the fact that it would be going straight up and down on the top and bottom. Same way with this one. I thought I like it, but not at the top. This one might have worked also because it had a lot of texture going a lot of different directions. But in the end, I chose this one from Close to My Heart. So here it is. So it has a little bit of texture on it. And now I'm going to come in with my Close to My Heart brown ink pad. And I'm just going to go over this and ink it up. Next, I'm going to take my little snowflake. I'm just going to press it gently into my embossing ink pad. I will then sprinkle some blue embossing powder over the top, and I have just a piece of cardstock folded down the middle underneath that. I'm going to pick it up with my piercing tool and just sort of set it to the side here after I tap off some of that excess powder. And the reason I have my creased cardstock is so I can just easily put that right back into that little jar. It's just that quick and easy. So next, we're going to get the heat gun out, and we're just going to heat up the heat gun and then hold it over the top of this little snowflake and melt that embossing powder. Next, we're going to work on that layer that's going to go under our snowman. I wanted to frame him out with a dark brown. So rather than waste any of my dark brown cardstock, I thought, you know what, I'm going to use just a piece of white cardstock that's in my scrap pile. It's in my scrap pile because the back of it has some blue ink smudged on it. So I used my Faber-Castell Pitt pen and just went around the edges, and there we go. We have this nice dark brown frame now, and no one's any the wiser that we didn't just use a dark brown cardstock. Now I did find that I had a little bit of weight along that top edge, so I just brought my pen back in, scribbled over it again, and that just fixed the problem. It was not a big deal. So I'm going to come in with my ATG and just put that together now, and then add those two pieces onto my card base. Again, I just hold it with the heel of my hand and put the tape on and press it down. It's just that easy. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring that wreath die in and decide exactly how I want to arrange that on top of him. I'm going to use my Zig two-way glue pen, not because I need two-way glue, but because it has that really tiny ink on it, little pen, and I can get into the wreath part of it. On the whiter sections, I'm going over it with just a little bit of Fabri-Tac, and you also saw me go over it with my ATG using that on the snowflake portion. When I laid it down, I actually laid down my snowflake section first just to make sure that I had that not covering anything, and then the rest of my wreath just fell into place. I'm going to use my Zig two-way glue and go ahead and put my little snowflake into place, and I'm going to use a stamp block to hold that down until it dries, and now it's on there securely. So now I know I want to do a little bit more embellishing, and I'm trying to decide how I want to accomplish that. I found some old Close to My Heart gems, as well as some Bo Bunny double dot blue gems, and decided to go with those. And then I had these Bluebell pearls from Close to My Heart, and so I just used all these little blue pearls around the wreath. And I sort of got off camera. You can definitely see what kind of pearls I used there. They are retired, however. But they do have, Close to My Heart does have bluebell gems right now. I will tell you that. They don't have the pearls, but they do have the gems. So you can find those. All right, you know that if you're watching a video from me and we're putting gems of some kind onto the card, that we are now pretty much close to the end. So I'm going to start winding up this video and say thank you so much during this holiday season when you're so busy. I know you are. I know you're busy crafting. I thank you so much for spending time with me and watching this video. I am wishing you a very creative and happy holiday season as you're finishing up your projects. If you have any questions or comments about this video, leave them below. I will gladly get back to you. And I will catch up with you in the next video. Bye.